national who is here. So it's very interesting to hear much discussion on Afghanistan. But I feel sometimes ashamed that I'm working in conflict or post-conflict countries because I'm not playing any role in terms of stopping these wars. And that is why I'm part of the World Federalist Movement, because most of us are doing bandage treatment after the war is over as humanitarian workers. And these wars are artificial, and they are created to keep some economies alive. So we have to stop it, and thanks to Vijay Mehta for bringing it up.
Thank you.
My name is Monica Bouwman. Thank you for your excellent expositions and describing the jungle. And by describing the jungle, you told us that there's some light about talking about conversion policy and also the idea of a change to green technology. And I love that, but then I see a Goliath, and on the other end a small David, and where to start and how to go on. And do you see, this is a question to both of you, do you see initiatives that are hopeful, that have potentiality? I'm very interested because I also believe in this part. Thank you.
Thank you. Question over here? Okay, then for now we'll go back to the panel.
I'll do this. Your question to is democracy is not working in America. It can work. Answer is yes, it's not working in America, and it can work. It can work if the citizens, American citizens, are informed. First of all, they're brainwashed into thinking that what America does, or putting arrogantly, America rules the world. You are an American citizen, but I don't know if you are aware or not. Out of the over 300 million people live in America, only 15 million have got passports. They don't know how the other world in Europe, Africa, Latin America, Asia, all the other continents, how they work, what power struggles they go through, what makes them tick, and what they don't do. In the absence of them not being informed. And secondly, the draconian laws are being passed, not only just in United States, in UK and elsewhere, where the civil liberties of citizens, for example, we could not have this debate, what we are having openly here, without military-industrial complex coming and putting all of us in the prison. But it's a good thing we are not having in some part of US. But the more and more civil liberties are being eroded. Recently, the Patriot Act and so many other acts, which I haven't got the time to go into, are being passed and have gone into it, in which you cannot challenge so many things. And so, in other words, it's not an open democracy. It makes you believe it's an open democracy. It's not an open democracy. But if the American citizens are informed, which they are not, then they will absolutely stand up with their government, because they will stand up. You can see the instance of this 2012, the US presidential elections. The only candidate who voiced against military was Ron Paul. And Ron Paul has been thrown out by candidates like Romney because it's the mainstream Republican candidate who's already saying if he becomes a president, the first thing he will do is attack Iran. So he's already coming out with things which are pleasing the Republican Party and their followers, who are all in favor of military and military spending and things like that. So yes, it can happen if the citizens are informed and they can stand up and say why 3 to 4 trillion is being spent in Iraq and Afghanistan, when the home closures are happening in America, when jobs are being lost in America, when there is the most expensive health care in the world is in America. Yeah, you cannot see a doctor without paying $50 or $100, remind me, because you're an American citizen.
I actually don't pay anything. I'm fully covered.
You got a full cover. You are one of the lucky ones. You are one of the
Health
lucky.
insurance is approximately $15,000 for a year, per annum.
Okay, suppose you.
It's about $30, depending on whether or not it's a
For a
specialty
family.
visit.
For $15,000.
For a family. Okay, I think that's enough. I would like to address your question, but if I leave to a little later, that what are the actual actions as citizens here should do or take to make a better world, which I do all day long. This is what I always do. Yeah, go on.
Yes, I think, well, it's 7:30, and I thought it might be good to have Monica Bouwman's question as the last question, which can give hopeful answers. And it would be nice, I think, if the three of you each could react on this question about conversion.
Sorry, that was the conversion question, wasn't it?
Conversion.
Yes. The same as I said in my introduction is applicable to this. The decision to convert part of military industry is a political one. And that is also a comment to anyone from any country here. You must decide how to influence politics in your country to get things done in that country. Social movements acting on that are useful, but they must somehow touch mainstream politics. And I do not pretend to know how it can be done in the United States. I only see what happens. And each must find their own solution in their country. And of course, they must be in touch with the other people of goodwill, like the World Federalists do. That is clearly a good thing. But do not pretend to yourself that at an international level you can stop these things. They cannot be stopped at that level. That is my key point. Thank you.
Yes, I'll be brief. The situation is not easy. It's obvious that many of the fructuous debate of the past have been buried. And in the Netherlands especially, I find, in mainstream politics, there is hardly any attention for the military-industrial complex or for the need for conversion. As activists, what we can do is certainly to re-put the whole question of conversion on the table. And what we can draw from history, that is that definitely the suggestions for conversion have been very, very concrete. If you look at the different reports on the benefits in terms of employment, if you look at the different reports on how a conversion process could be structured, either by McGovern or by the trade unions in the United States itself, there are numerous very concrete suggestions indicating that from a human point of view, from a civilian point of view, this is quite well feasible. Well, it's up to us, however, to re-bring all those elements into the debate for today. And what I've argued in my talk is that we should realize that the situation has moved on. We are no longer in the 80s, we are no longer in the 70s. And we are seeing a world situation where increasingly people will feel how to say, in Dutch you say, strangulated almost by the threats that are burdening us. We have a climate threat, we have an increasingly global ecological crisis. And what we should learn from the situation is that we need to link up with those debates in order to make our points. It is possible to make entrance points into debate. If you look at the academic reports, because many of the academic reports, they put these things side by side. Conversion of industrial conversion from dependence on fossil fuels towards dependence on alternative energy is in a way parallel to the kind of conversion we as peace activists propose. And that parallel should be brought back onto the table. We shouldn't say, okay, we are now in a new stage, we have a new agenda. No, we can bring up this as part of a common agenda to face a world threat that humanity is facing. Well, I'll leave it at this, but that is basically what I would propose. I believe we have possibilities to make entrance points, and we can't do it without recognizing the strength of the power of the military-industrial complex. But if we position ourselves in relation to developments that have taken place since the 80s, we can well do that. That's basically what I would like to argue. Thank you. Yes.
Okay, I will have a go at it. First of all, as I said in my talk, that we have to have change of mindset from military mindset. Let me comment that we couldn't be living in a more momentous moment in history. Why? Because we haven't got the money, none of the European countries or the US. And frankly speaking, if Chinese took their money out of the US economy, US is a bankrupt country. But the point I'm trying to make it is that it's a part of the history of this moment in time in the 21st century. We are in the beginning of 21st century. We do not wish to repeat the horrors of the 20th century, which I said in my talk, that there were 250 wars in the 20th century with 160 million people killed. First of all, we do not want them. So definitely we want to change the mindset. Secondly, I know both my colleagues here are saying that it's a very uphill task to break down the military-industrial complex. And somehow the other, I agree. But I say the present time couldn't be more opportunate. The opportunity is so vast. The window of opportunity is so open. Why? Because we are all going the path of where we cannot, our people are getting older, we are living longer, all the industries, the pension industry, the health industry, all the other industries are in a big mess because they haven't got the money to feed their citizens, all the countries. So what could be a better chance to show the daylight to the militarists, to say to them that, can't you see the daylight? Can't you see the wood from the trees? For example, that at this time, we haven't got the money to feed, and we are having deficits in UK and all the countries. All the governments are doing is trying to reduce expenditure, trying to reduce services, which is hitting the poor man or poor person. So why can't we reduce the military spending, which is 1.6 trillion, and bring it down? That is the absolute point which I make, and which can be done by changing the military mindset. And also education. Some of the things I'm going to say are not that we can just like switching the light and lights come on, can happen tomorrow. But then we don't put them now, we have to put them in 20 years. Because if there was a solution by us going and killing people in Afghanistan or Iraq, we would have found the solution by now. So there is no military solutions in the world. So if we do it now or we do it in 10 years, we have to adopt procedures which are sustainable. Let me give you one example, that we have got a Northern Ireland peace process, or what we call, in other words, the Good Friday Agreement. After all the warring parties, the Sinn Féin, the Catholics, the Protestants, all the other parties, when they realized that we have been throwing bombs, we have been killing each other's brothers and sisters for the last 30 years and nothing has happened. And then, of course, 9/11 happened in US and the IRA's funding stopped. And they said, no, this is not the way. All of them sat on the table and thrashed a solution. So same thing we have to do in Iraq, same thing we have to do with Afghanistan, same thing, Peter, which raise the issue of Middle East. Same thing we have to do in the Middle East. We have to talk to Hezbollah, we have to talk to Hamas. Don't say they are terrorists. In the end, we did talk with the IRA, didn't we? And now there is, I won't say it's a perfect peace, but there is a relative peace in Ireland. And Ireland has become prosperous because of that. Me and Shanti were invited in Belfast, and we both met the hunger strikers, the prisoners who've been in prison for a cause. But all of them, they say, this agreement is what we are standing for. So there is a light in the end of the tunnel. There are peaceful solutions in the world, and we should go for the peaceful solutions in Iran, Afghanistan and other places, and we should not go for war on Iran, because that will be not only the price of the oil will go over $200 per barrel, thank you, but also there will be such a turmoil and chaos in the Middle East, it will take next 50 years to reconcile that. Now, what can we do as citizens? Yeah. Okay, I'll give you these points. Before anything, study the problem. Secondly, write to your member of parliament, MEP, member of European Parliament, key decision makers and government ministers. Whatever issue you are doing. I'm doing military, but you may be doing environment. It doesn't matter what issue. Human rights, what issue you are doing. Write letters to editors, world leaders, educate the public, and hold a meeting like this in your town, in your district, wherever. Hold them, because what happens is, more often than not, people really don't know the issues. If they really did know the issues, they will stand up in the streets and make their government work hard for the money we are paying to them. Because don't forget, it is the taxpayers' money being utilized by the military, by the presidents, by the soldiers. There are 25 million soldiers in the world. Do we need them? Yeah? Do we need 1,000 military bases in the world? No. Okay. So, okay. Okay, call a TV or radio talk show. Contact your peace organization. So you contact Marjorie, okay, once I've gone. Because she's a peace person, or Peter, or okay, and others, and World Federalists, for example, here. Okay, one example which Japanese do very nicely. Make paper cranes and send it to decision makers, because they have become symbol of peace or disarmament. Then promote complete and general disarmament, which I've been saying all in my talk, because we should be working for end of wars and militarism. And also, it's difficult, but one has to confirm it and do it. Speak truth to the power. You may not be the most popular person in the room or in the city or whatever, but you need to speak to the elected officials who make the decisions. Sometimes, answering your question again, the leaders don't make the decisions, because the bureaucrats who are in the offices, they make the decisions, because they know for a fact that this minister is here for 1 year, 2 year, 4 year. Next, the other government is going to come. So we are the ones who are here and will be here for the next 30 years. And we are the ones who will make the decisions, and we are the ones whose decisions. I don't know if some of you have seen that Yes Minister the program in UK, where the bureaucrats make all the decisions. I think, and then make phone calls, and setting up lobby visits to put an end to arms trade and things like that. And thank you.
Thank you, Vijay. Thank you for giving us so much homework to do. And, well, I think you gave us enough information, and also our distinguished panel members, Peter Kusters and Karel Koster. Thank you very much for your contribution to this debate and information evening about such an important topic. And on behalf of the organization, which are 4 organizations, the WFPN, World Federalist, Foundation Emma, Uniting for Peace, and Pluto Press, Please join us for a reception. I've understood that drinks will be brought inside, or they're just outside the door here. And you're mostly welcome to join us for a drink. If you like, you can still have a look at all the information that's on the tables here about Uniting for Peace. And the books, of course, they will be signed by the author. So take your chance now you're here. Enjoy, and thank you all for coming and for your contribution to this very nice evening. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, you're welcome. Can I have your name? How do you spell it?
Fine.